Are we ready on the east?
Ready on the east.
Ready on the west?
Ready on the west.
Get going in 3, 2.
All right, welcome back to Pioneering Change. I'm your host, Farmer Ryan. Today we have Sergeant G on, right, Sarge?
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, Farmer Ryan? Yes, sir.
Man, glad to have you in the house.
I'm super excited to be here, man. It's been a while since I've been behind the camera again.
Well,
Taking a little break off right now. Trying to reevaluate life, right? Where we all are. I mean, we all are on our journeys right now.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's going on right now. So I figured, why not? You invited me on.
Come back with bang.
Let's come back. Let's come back strong, right?
Glad to have you on. Last week we reviewed a little bit of the Patriot Roundup down in Texas, the event that we had about a month ago now, and we expect that video to be available up for viewing and purchase on the ppnstore.com, hopefully by Friday. So I know we played some clips last week, a little bit of a highlight reel. Everybody enjoyed it, so be sure to check that out on the ppnstore.com. Again, we've known each other for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's been
Feels like forever.
It feels like forever now, man. The older you get, right? The older you get, you're like, damn, dude, where did the time go now? You know? And I was like, my birthday's coming up. I'm about to be 40 now, and I'm like, the hell my life going
I'm
to
gonna turn 40 this year, bro.
right? I'm like,
Woke up and was like,
what happened, right?
oh God.
And everybody keeps telling me it's gonna get worse, dude. It's just your body starts hurting a lot more. It's like, no, dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah, they say that, but I'm trying to do everything I can do
to not let my body.
I like to think that it's working, and it really scares me to think of how bad a position we would be in if we weren't somewhat aware of what's going on.
What's going on, right? And what's going on in society and everything else that we deal with. You know?
Now, you served this great country.
Yeah.
The States Marine Corps.
Yeah. Like I said, guys, a lot of you guys may not know who I am. So I am Sergeant G. I host the 2-time award-winning podcast called the Stone Vet USMC. You go to Google, you type in hashtag the Stone Vet USMC, you'll find all my content and everything I've done, right? I figured I'd do a podcast. Honestly, it came from my wife. You know the wife. She wanted to start a podcast, and I was like, man, maybe I want to start a podcast, right? You know, and so the first year in of doing it, I brought on venturepreneurs, right? Veterans who got out of active duty service and found life after serving active duty, right? Because one of the biggest struggles we have is that, what do I do now?
Sure.
I did this for 4 years. I did it for 14 years. I did it for 40 years. Every day, day in and day out, I had a purpose. Somebody told me what to do, when to do, how to do it, and what I had to wear while I was doing it, right? Every day. And when you get out of active duty service, there's nobody there to tell you what to do anymore. You're on your own. You're like, what am I supposed to do, right? And so the first year of the podcast, I brought on venturepreneurs, small business owners, veterans who started their own small business to help other veterans see, hey, I can do this too. I can do that. I'm into that. I'm into guns, or I'm into making T-shirts or merch or whatever, right? I know somebody that's doing it. Let me introduce you to the same. He's another veteran that's doing it. Let me introduce you. You guys have that same camaraderie, right? Because we all signed that oath to say, I will defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's a contract that never dies. You can ask any veteran that's out there. That contract don't die. Tell me when it's time to battle. We're gonna battle. You know. And so that's what I did for the first year. And the second year, I started fighting for federal legalization. Right? I'm the Stone Vet. Why am I the Stone Vet? Let me tell you why I'm the Stone Vet, right? Let me educate you. Let me educate you on the medicinal benefits of plant-based medicine, right? Because everybody knows, you guys, you veterans that are out there, I'll ask you guys, like, how many pills do you take a day, right? You can ask any veteran, let's say between 20 to 50 pills a day.
And some much more.
Way more, right?
Staggering.
Stacks, right? It's embarrassing, right? Because we've even had doctors, we work with doctors. Doctors said, would you take 3 pills? You take that 4th pill, it eliminates what the other 3 were even doing. Like, it's not even working anymore. There's no purpose for it, right? You got to take this pill, but you got to take this pill to counteract the side effects of that pill. Then you got to take this pill to counteract the side effects of the second pill that you took to counteract the side effects of that pill, right?
Sure.
So it keeps going, right? And so that's what I've been doing. I've teamed up with a lot of amazing people, you know, like the Veteran Action Council. I've teamed up with them, and they're doing amazing things, working with politicians around the world, just not here in the U.S., but getting scientific studies and stuff from around the world that people like Israel. I mean, we know how big Israel is on the scientific studies of cannabis and the medicinal benefits that it does provide, right? And so understanding, and that's what I do now, is I bring veterans on who have turned to cannabis, who've gotten off of the pharmaceuticals the VA gives them, and has them talking about how cannabis has saved their life, how cannabis has given them a life back, right? To be with their parents, to be with their kids, to be with their spouse, their
To
significant
have a
other,
life.
to have a life, right? To have a normal life, and understanding, hey, cannabis works, dude. If you know how to use it correctly, let me get you off some of the pills that are killing you internally, right? Because a lot of people don't understand these pills, they do a number on your internal your intestines, you know.
Well, and if we if we go back a little over 100 years, we go back to the Rockefeller dynasty,
Oh yeah,
and really, most some may know this, most may not. Rockefeller literally not only built our entire
Mhm.
educational
Yeah,
program
yeah.
for schools and our
Absolutely
current, and we'll get into some of that.
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
You guys got
absolutely
really cool
ridiculous.
stuff going on there.
Yeah, yeah.
But they built those schools to create a generation and generations of workers,
Of workers,
that would
yeah.
work 9 to 5, 8 hours a day, and not gripe about it and do it.
Do it
The rest of
happily,
their
right?
life.
The rest of their life, right?
They also do the same thing, oil industry,
Mhm.
right? And out of the oil industry came pharmaceutical drugs.
Right.
Rockefeller is where our current
Fucking
pharmaceutical
ridiculous, yeah.
industry came from. It's where
Mhm.
our university education system came from. It is where our current medical education system came
Right.
from. And so our doctors, that's all they know is what they've been told by the companies that are producing synthesized
Mhm.
plant compounds.
Right,
That's,
right.
that's what pharmaceuticals are, right? Is
Mhm.
is plants that they have found to be effective, and so we ban the plant
And
and synthesize the
synthesize
active ingredient
yeah.
and make sure we build in a nice protocol and educational piece. And of course, they have to go through their clinicals and the thresholds, right, for what is safe and what is effective is just sickening.
It is.
And our veterans, our military, the VA, the Veterans Administration System, is unfortunately over the last 100 years they have succumbed. They are fully integrated into the Rockefeller
Yeah, absolutely.
petroleum-based pharmaceutical industry,
Mhm.
and I think that's why we see so many issues. Suicide, obviously, 22
Right.
a day.
Right.
But that doesn't account
That
for
doesn't
the
account for-
thousands that
From-
contemplate every day, that are
Yeah.
struggling every day to get to that next
Yeah,
day. Right?
and that's the biggest thing, right? And I tell people, right? Everybody says 22 veterans every day, right? And the sad part is they just did a study. University of Duke and Alabama just did a study. They actually found out it's 44 veterans that take their life every
Say
day, right?
right closer to double.
Right, double, right? Double. But nobody ever talks about those who die from opioid overdose.
True.
Looking at about 35 a day on top of the 44 a day who die because life's just too hard. Take their own lives because life's just too hard, right? It's just too hard. I can't do it anymore. I don't know. I don't have any guidance. Nobody can show me how to do it, right? So I'm gonna take my life because I just don't want to do it anymore. And then those guys that say, I'm gonna have a couple of drinks and pop some of these pills, right? Because these pills make me feel good. And if I take enough of them, maybe it'll take me out of this life so I can feel good forever. Right? And it sucks. It's sad, right? It's sad that that's what it comes down to, right? And it hurts. So that was my goal, is to try to help educate my community, right? Because if you live in a state, it's like I tell my guys on my show, like I tell my audience, if you live in a state and cannabis isn't legal, why? What is it that you're not doing within your own local legislation to fight for your freedom, your medical freedom,
Absolutely.
right? Because there's more states now that have cannabis legalized than there aren't,
Yeah.
right?
Amen.
And if you live in a state that it's not, why? Don't let somebody else take that from you. Be that person where people are like, did you just get cannabis legalized? I got it on the ballot. You're fucking right. This is what I had to do. You, Ryan, all people know.
I know, bro.
All people. It's work. It's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work.
And it's consistent. You
It's
have to
consistent.
continue, because there's always someone trying to come in and either mess it up or make it benefit, themselves
Benefit, yeah.
slowly. So
Absolutely. And it's a lot of work. It is. And trust me, it scares people, right? But when there's one of you, there's gonna be somebody else that has that same belief you have, right? Build your community. That's my biggest thing. That's what I always tell everybody. Build your community around you. What are you into? Like weed. My community is around people who associate themselves with cannabis, whether they're processors or they're growers, they're dealers. I mean, that's what I put
most
myself
people
around.
in that industry are
Mhm.
passionate about
Passionate
it
about
because
it, right.
of what is done in their lives or someone close to them.
Close to them. They've seen the medicinal benefits of it, right? They've seen them. They're like, we got to get this out there to everybody to see.
Now, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. break, sponsors. We'll come back and we're going to get more into how cannabis has helped change your life
Absolutely.
and some of those around
Super
you.
excited. Absolutely. It's
We'll be right
definitely.
back. All right, welcome back, Patriots. We're here with Sergeant G today, and Sarge, let's talk a little bit about your journey with cannabis, how you've seen it change, not just your life, but those around you, and what some of the current things that you're working on to add more.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, like majority of us, right? Like we grew up in the '90s era, right, where the music, everything was all about weed, right? Weed, and everything else that comes with it, right? And so I jumped on board, dude. I was 12 years old. I remember my 12th birthday, right? My birthday's coming up. So I remember my 12th birthday. That's the only birthday I really remember. My buddy of mine, my wife's cousin, one of my good friends, he started smoking ounce. I was like, shit, all right. He's like, be for your birthday. I got it. And back then, an ounce, I mean, what, it was that
Didn't know what that was.
Right, that brickweed, right? That brickweed too, right? That red hair brickweed, right? And I was like, I smoked it. Shit. We smoked the whole damn ounce that night, dude. And I was just like, damn, I was hooked, dude. Like, I was like, I love weed, right? But
I didn't die.
Right, I didn't die. It was good, right? But at that time, when we were kids, we didn't understand, right? We didn't know. We just wanted to get high, right? That was that era. We just wanted to be high. We didn't know what was going on, right? And now, after serving 9 years, right? I did 9 years in the Marine Corps, 2 tours to the desert, and I came back alive with all my limbs, right? Unlike some of my other brothers who came back with nothing, like they're missing a leg and 2 arms. You know what I'm saying? Like they're screwed up, right? But I came back and I started, I suffered from everything you guys know: PTSD, fucking TBIs, anxiety, depression, every fucking mental health issue that's out there, right? That people deal with, right? And
every diagnosis,
right? And being a veteran, you guys know. I mean, I tell people are like, well, I never went overseas. I said, that doesn't mean you still don't have PTSD. I said, you went through boot camp. boot camp will put you into a PTSD spell, dude, because they're creating you how they want you to be for their military.
Sure,
Right.
it's the first step to
First step is
Molding.
PTSD. Yeah, you gotta
breaking.
You gotta
and molding.
break them to make them what you want them to be, right? You're no longer who you were when you joined, right?
Well, and not only that, man, but the amount of vaccinations
Yeah.
our military gets. Right?
Oh my
I'm sure
gosh,
you got,
you guys know.
And
you
so
know?
there are tools, right, to help
Right.
rid the body of some of that stuff, natural tools,
Right.
And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But the amount of just the vaccination,
That we've gone through, right? Because you guys remember, you guys stood in line and you just walked in line as they're just shooting you, and you're like, "What's that for?" Oh no, it's part of immunization. You gotta have it. You gotta have it, right? I mean, smallpox. How many of you guys got the smallpox shot multiple times because they lost your records?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta go back through that phase again. You're just like, it's happened, right? It happens, And so after getting out, right, that's one of my things. That's what the wife, she was like, that's one of the things she's like, I think I'm gonna sell CBD. I said, what is that? Like, I don't know what CBD is, She's like, no, it's because she's been real big into plant medicine ever since we've been together. We've been together. We just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. And so she's always been in plant medicine. She's always been a big hippie, big plant medicine person, And I want to sell CBD, And I was like, all right, cool, And she started getting into that, and I was like, oh, it's like weed. It's like the ugly cousin of weed. You know what I'm saying?
like diet weed.
It's like diet weed, right? You don't get high, but you get medical healing, right? You get medical benefits from it. You just don't get high. And I was like, what's the fun of that? But okay, we could try it. We could try it. But no, I mean, the medicinal benefits coming from CBD and learning that. And then, if you're in the CBD side, you're going to be into the cannabis. You're going to start working with cannabis and understanding how THC and CBD work together and working like this beautiful harmony when you can find the perfect balance in your one-to-ones. You know what I'm saying? You can find the perfect, because they work together, CBD and
we're all
THC,
different.
right?
Everybody's got to play with it, right?
Yeah.
It's like doctors practice medicine, but we have to practice supplementation, and that's all cannabis is.
And that's all it is, right? And that's what we try to tell people, right? Over at Rafa 180, that's what we try to tell people. We're like, when you go to the doctor and he prescribes you medication, what does he tell you? Try it for a couple of weeks, come back, let me know how it feels. How it's making you feel, right?
He's practicing.
He's practicing. He don't know. He's like, this is what they told me it felt like. I don't,
That's what the drug manufacturer says it's supposed to do.
Right.
But if you have any of this long list of
other stuff,
issues, well, stop it and call me.
Call me, and then we'll get you on something else, right? And so that's what we try to tell people who get on CBD, because a lot of people try CBD, like, this don't work. This don't work. Wait. Yes, it does. We just gotta find your balance, right? Where's your balance, right? There's no machine I can plug you into and say, okay, you need this much CBD and you need this much THC. There's nothing that's gonna tell me that, right? I gotta find the balance, right? We gotta find the balance, right? And when it comes to using a natural supplement, you have to find what's wrong with me. What am I needing? What am I trying to achieve?
What am I missing?
What am I missing, right? What am I missing out of my diet, right? During World War II, that's what we fed the cows. That's what we fed the pigs, was hemp. Right?
All the way up until about then.
Right, all the way up to about then, right? So
of course, we got those cannabinoids
right,
through our food chain.
Through our food, right? We no longer get that anymore.
Didn't have any wheat gluten at that time.
Right.
Or had fructose corn syrup.
Right, And so
take the good out, put the bad in.
Yeah, exactly. And so understanding on how cannabis, so I started doing my own study, and I was like, PTSD, let's see how cannabis, like, that's interesting. This can help me with my daily life. It can help calm my anxiety down a little bit, right? So I was like, let me start smoking. Let me try to figure it out, right? And so I did. I went through and I started smoking. I was like, wow, dude, I feel normal, I can be around my kids. My kids don't annoy me, right? I got little kids, dude. I got little babies,
A bunch of them.
I got a bunch of babies at the house, and
go forth and multiply.
Right?
Well,
right? And so I started using cannabis just to see, just to incorporate it into my daily thing, right? And it's like I tell veterans, I said, don't stop taking your pills. Start incorporating cannabis into your daily routine and see what pills you can start doing. They start getting away with. Like, I didn't take my pill today. How did it make you feel? I felt really good. Like I didn't have to take that anxiety pill today. Why? Because I was smoking, or I took an edible. Well, what kind? And that's why I tell people, you got to journal it. What's the name of it?
Dosage.
How much of it did you use? Was it an indica, sativa, hybrid? And how did it make you feel? What terpenes did it have in it? Because that's what I try to educate people. Terpenes is what the medicine. That's what the plant is. The terpenes. That's the medicine. The terpenes.
All of them have CBD, THC,
right?
some different levels of
Right.
those.
Different levels.
The terpenes really, the terpenoids, flavonoids, that's really what is,
That's what's responsible for your anxiety going away, your depression subsiding.
and the easy way to relate that for most people is to relate it to essential oils.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Essential oils. Exactly.
That is the essence of the
Mhm.
plant. That is why that plant has those properties. And
Right.
difference is, and we'll touch on this just briefly, you know, most essential oil is steam distilled,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which means they're only getting the flavonoids and none of the lipid-based compounds like cannabinoids
Mhm.
and cannabinoids aren't just in cannabis.
Right now.
They're in many plants and
Right.
foods. Many we don't even know about. Hops, you know,
Right.
beer actually has CBD in it, CBG.
Right.
So you know, those flavonoids are what's responsible for the munchies,
Right.
for the giggle, for the sleep, for the energy, for the paranoia,
Yeah.
right?
The medicinal benefits from the plant that
And
you
so
want
it's
to
very
achieve,
key
yeah.
that you said to document, to journal, to write
Yeah.
down, make sure that you're utilizing products that you can get that information
Right.
on, because a lot of them
A
don't
lot
offer
of,
that.
and a lot of us can't, right? A lot of us, you know, depending on where you're at, with how the market is, right? A lot of places are expensive, dude.
Well, no, Rafa180.com.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Rafa 180. Not yet. We
Not
took
yet.
it down. We're redoing the website. We're
Coming back
revamping
soon.
it, and so it'll be back soon. But it is on Facebook, Instagram, you know, Snapchat, I think, and all kinds of other stuff.
Very good. I loved it before.
Yeah.
Social media, but
Yeah, social media. When we're getting the website back up, we're getting everything revamped on it, and so that's one of the biggest things. It's just like you said, knowing where to get your medicine from. That's telling you what's in it.
100%.
You know.
On that note, we're going to take a short break. We'll come back and let's talk a little bit more about the differences in the market now versus how it was when we started and what availability there is.
Right. Absolutely.
We'll be back. All right, Patriots, welcome back. We're here with Sergeant G, and just really talking about, you know, all kinds of things. Really been talking about, you know, natural medicine, and integration of cannabis, of course.
Right.
The Stone Vet USMC
Mhm.
on YouTube.
On YouTube. Yep.
Everybody can check you out there.
Yeah, check me out there and on every audio platform, however you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Stitcher, however you guys listen to it, it's out there.
Might even find an episode with Farmer Ryan in there somewhere.
Yeah, you can find a couple. You might find one.
I think I got one in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we were just kind of talking about the different properties, what makes cannabis, and even all plants.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, is right? Is understanding where you're getting your medicine from, right? It's hard, right? Especially, I mean, a lot of dispensaries here in Oklahoma. We're cheaper in Oklahoma, right? A lot of our weed, we go to dispensary. We're not gonna break our pocket too bad. Right?
No, and we're both medical patients here.
We're both
so
medical patients, right? And
Let's talk about that for a minute.
yeah, we're both medical patients here in the great state of Oklahoma, and that's one of the things, right? It's not too expensive, right? But there's some places, dude. There's some places you just like, you want $100 for how much?
For that brown,
For it's brown weed. It's not even green, dude. It's not.
it's called Bobby Brown.
And you're like, you want $100 for it? Because I got a buddy who's in Illinois, and he's like, dude, he said he has to drive like an hour and a half to his only medical dispensary that he can get to. He's like an hour and a half from where he lives. It's like, that's stupid.
Well, not only that, Illinois taxes
Yeah.
through the roof.
Through the roof,
last
dude.
I heard, they were at 38%, headed up to almost 50. So.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, it's stupid, right? And I get it, right? So where do you go? Black market, right? Oklahoma's real bad, right? We're bad at black market, right? I mean, you see this. I mean, you see people getting busted all the time. They had one not too long ago. Dude had a cabinet. Like, I think they did countertops and cabinets, and he was selling weed out of his countertop and cabinet place.
Well,
right?
and what's crazy though is most of that marijuana, that illegally grown or legally produced,
Yeah.
illegally, taken off the market product is not even being sold here to
no, right?
here. It's
right.
going to other states.
Michigan,
And-
all over the place.
And the other problem with that too, is it's supposed to be medicine, and I didn't really realize this until we really, started getting into the industry 2014.
Yeah.
About testing and pesticides and heavy metals and stuff that is used during the cultivation process.
Right, like there's a lot of dirty stuff.
Very
Right?
dangerous.
Yeah.
And so when you're buying cannabis on the black market, you're
You
at
don't-
the most information. You might get a name
You might get a name if you're lucky.
if it's real,
If it's even the real thing, right?
But a lot of it, we saw that early on in the industry here. There was a lot of cannabis coming in from out of state,
Oh,
California,
yeah,
Colorado,
yeah,
Oregon, right? And it was a lot of stuff that wouldn't pass testing out there, so they just
Just
put
brought
it
it
in a
here.
truck, bring it here, and put a fake COA to it. And we didn't have metric, we didn't have, which that's a whole other debate.
Yeah, that thing.
I'm not saying that's stopping
Right.
anything,
No, yeah,
but,
right.
but we didn't have any means of tracking, or it was kind of a free for all. It was
Yeah.
almost a don't ask, don't tell for the first 6-12 months.
Right,
And
exactly.
I think it's that way in probably about every state as they
Right. Yeah, oh, absolutely, right, because it's got to come from somewhere, right?
Missouri's seeing it right now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Especially when when they first legalized it, right? Where do you think it's coming from? Nobody's been growing it for freaking 6 months, 6
But
weeks.
all the dispensaries are full of weed.
They're full of weed, right? But but you haven't been allowed to grow it.
You get your license 3 weeks ago.
You were just now able to get your grow license, right? How you got weed already coming? But I mean, that's how a lot of it is. Right? It's coming in from out of state. A lot of it is, right? And that's what we were here. It was grown here, and they're shipping out,
Sure.
right? They're getting out, right? What, because it didn't meet metric or didn't, it's too old or whatever.
OBN seems like they're shutting down a massive operation every day.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Facebook,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's crazy to see, right? And so, but that's one of the biggest things, understanding where your medicine does come from,
Sure.
right? Being able to get the testing, the lab reports, right? And that's one of the biggest things, is understanding what type of terpene is making you feel the way it makes you feel, right? Because there's some terpenes make your anxiety go through the roof.
Oh yeah.
It'll kill you, dude. You're just like, I
Absolutely.
can't smoke this, right? That's when you take the CBD to bring
Heart
it down,
race.
right? Yeah. And it happens, right?
It's panic attack.
It is, and it happens. It does happen, right? Cannabis ain't the end all be all, right?
Well, even as a 25+ year,
User, right?
cannabis advocate, yes, I still get a hold of some every now and then.
Every now and then, you're just like, oh my gosh, I need something else. I gotta get this out of my system. Like, it's bad. It happens, right? It does happen.
Absolutely.
That's one thing I stress about on my show, is that document what you're consuming, so so when you go back to the dispenser, like, I need this, I need limonene, I need pinene, or I need whatever,
Well, I can't have this.
I
or
can't-
this or
yeah.
this. Very important.
Yeah, I can't have these 3 strains. I can't have these 3 terpenes because it made me crazy. It gave my anxiety, it made my depression, and everything, right? So understanding and getting educational, right? Understanding, right? It's a plant. It's medicine. It's like any pharmaceutical. If you're a doctor, I have to go to the doctor to get my medicine.
Sure.
What does he tell you? Try it for a couple weeks. Let me know how you feel, so I can document it because I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna make you feel, but it'll give me an idea of what's in it, and I can't give you anything that has this in it because it makes you feel like crap.
Well, and I wanted to note on that with cannabis, you may have an onset of a panic attack, an anxiety attack, right, with the wrong
Right,
type of terpene or product, but no one's ever died from that.
right.
You're not going to, have potentially deadly
Right.
side effects as there were with many medications.
Yeah,
Almost all of them now seems like it says sudden death is a
it's part of the
thing. Yeah, if you die, let us know. Don't take any more.
right.
Right.
It sucks, and it sucks because that's how 90% of pharmaceuticals are now. You guys see the TV commercials. Commercial will be 15 minutes long, just telling you all the side effects of what's in it.
Yeah,
This
all the
can
while
cause
people are running through.
They're
the
running
park
through and they're happy.
puppies are
and,
playing,
yeah.
and butterflies are going.
and
And
everybody's
sure,
getting ice
life
cream.
is great
Yeah.
unless you suffer from any of this
These.
list.
And
of
it's
this.
and it's like 3 minutes of side effects. So you
The inserts that come with them
Yeah,
now
yeah,
are
yeah.
unfoldable into like 86 pages.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
You're like, what is, like, how is this supposed to be medicine?
And most of us go, oh well, my doctor knows what he's
My
doing.
doc-
He
yeah,
has
yeah,
my
yeah.
best interest at heart, and he wouldn't give me anything that could be potentially dangerous. Unfortunately, he's making sure that the pharmaceutical company that made that drug has that information so that his conscience is clear, at least for his liking,
Right.
her liking.
Exactly. And that's the hard part, right? That's just understanding. That's the biggest thing, right? It's understanding plant medicine, right? Like psilocybin. I mean, here in Oklahoma, we tried to pass a law. We tried to pass it,
That's
right?
Bill 3417.
Try to pass it, right? And the Senate voted it down, which makes me mad, right? Because it's like, what? So now you got to go back. It's the work you got to put into it, right? You got to put work into it, right? So now you got to go back and talk to them and say, why'd you vote this down?
Yep.
I sat down and talked to you and told you that this is not how it's going to be, right? They were scared it was going to be like 788. I said, we aren't selling anything. We're just studying it.
Well, with that, people don't use mushrooms like they do cannabis.
Right.
Mushrooms are typically used periodically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
In
just
low
yeah,
doses.
very low doses, and it's periodic.
I mean,
once every
when
6
I was a
months, maybe.
teenager,
Right.
we would have fun with it. But
Right.
microdosing, I think, is more common now than I talk to so many people that microdose that
Mhm.
don't utilize cannabis, that think that's a drug,
Right.
but are okay with. And so, like, I try to enlighten a lot of them that cannabis can be used just like in microdose situation. No
Mhm.
different. You don't have to sit down and smoke a whole blunt,
Yeah,
right?
you can microdose. Take a
Yeah.
couple of hits and be like, okay, I'm good, you know?
And even beyond that, most people think of medical marijuana as smokable flower. And while I do enjoy that aspect of it, many do not. And I will tell you, I get different effects
From the edibles.
from ingestible,
Mhm.
right, than I do from inhalables.
Yeah.
So I think that, just like with anything, we're all practicing what
Trying
works
to
best.
what works for me, right?
And cannabis is not the cure for everything, like
Right. Some
everyone
people
quotes
believe,
it
right?
for. I like to say that we all suffer from a deficiency of our endocannabinoid system.
Right.
That we've literally been starved out of our food, our diet.
Right. Yeah.
It's not in it
Absolutely.
anymore, and it used to be in most Americans' diet up until the late 30s.
Mhm. Right.
Uh,
And that's one thing I educate my people on. I tell them, I said, you don't believe me? Look up the endocannabinoid system. I said,
Sure.
go to NIH.gov.
Yep.
NIH, NovemberIndiaHotel.gov. It's a government website.
National Institute of Health
National Institute of Health, and type in
tell
endocannabinoid.
you all you need to know about it.
Everything you need to know about the endocannabinoid system and how to replenish it.
100%.
Right.
So I believe we suffer from a deficiency,
Right.
just like with other deficiencies of
Mhm.
minerals, nutrients, supplements. Those can be added back to our diet
Right.
in different ways, with or without the psychoactive
Mhm.
compounds.
Right.
And I know Rapa has a lot of products that are
Right.
THC free,
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
have the medical benefits, but also has products that are full spectrum,
Right.
that have even ratio specific
Yeah.
products. The 420 My Way gummies that
Absolutely.
you guys carry.
Absolutely.
Most of our members are familiar with them.
Those are the best gummies, hands down. Dude. Like I've had regular THC gummies, and using these 420 My Way gummies, dude, I can't believe it. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, dude.
You
Like, how
can
are these?
build a protocol
Right.
around what you need,
Yeah, and
and
it's like you said, you had a buddy who uses them on a daily basis, and I said, let me try this. I found my routine. I was like, oh, I can do this in the morning. I can do this one after lunch. I can do this one later in the evening to help for rest. And I sleep like a baby now. Dude, I sleep so good now. I'm just like, let's go to bed. I'm ready for bed. Like I'm good.
System's balanced, everything's
Mhm.
working right.
Right.
You know, CBD on its own is a neuroprotectant,
Right.
But adding the THC, adding the CBGs, the CBNs, the CBCs, and then not only that, each one of those products, as with all the products, even the tinctures, everything have their own terpene profile,
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and those are targeted to work in conjunction with those compounds to
Mhm.
achieve the effects that we're trying to achieve.
Right. And that's what I tell that's what I tell clients. I mean, whenever they get on it, say give it time. Let it get in the system. You've got to get into your system and see how it makes you feel, right? And that's how we make a determination, right? Like the doctor, try for a couple of weeks, let me know how you're feeling, right?
Sure.
Whenever we get a patient and we put them on CBG, they'll come back and like, dude, I got real agitated. I go, okay, let's up your CBD then. Let's get you off the CBG and let's up your CBD then. Let's get you that benefit, right? And we up their CBD, they're like, oh, that's perfect. I feel a lot better now. So that's what we do. You gotta communicate with us. That's the only way we're gonna learn how your body's working, how your body's accepting it.
For sure.
And so just getting an understanding, right? And that's the biggest thing, is just allowing people to understand, hey, this is plant-based medicine. Like it works. Homeopathic, right? Those are the crazy people, the witch doctors and all that, right? Maybe they had an idea.
Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know?
we're going to take a short break. Then we'll come back and talk about some crazy people. We'll be right back, Patriots. All right, welcome back, Patriots. We're here with Sergeant G, USMC,
Yes, sir.
Rafa 180.
Super excited to be with you guys, man. Like I said, I mean, this is a wonderful opportunity, man, to be able to come out here and speak and help, try to help educate the community, right? The biggest thing, I think that's the biggest struggle that we have as veterans, right? We don't really like talking about our community. We really don't like talking about needing help, right? As a veteran, why does a veteran need help, right? Because we need help like nobody's business. It's sad to see the community we're in, right? To try to help each other, right? Because I tell my brothers and sisters, right? I say, You know who hurts the worst when you get screwed over, right? Being a podcast, you don't think you get screwed over. You get screwed over. There's certain events or certain things that happen. You're just like, dude, if it was that important, you could have had it, dude. I don't need it. Like I don't need it, right? I host a 2-time award-winning podcast. You think I need that? Like, take it. Take the guest. You know, the guest. You know. But I tell people, I said the worst people, the ones that have hurt me the most are my own brothers and sisters. It sucks. I was like, because you know each other, right? That's what you did.
Right.
And for them to screw you over, it's like, it sucks. All right, dude. So I just disassociate myself, you know. So I still want to see you doing good. Sure, go ahead, dude. You know, but that's the biggest thing is just trying to build our community, right? We have to build our community to help support us, right, and what we believe in, right? I mean, so 788 got here, dude. I mean, people couldn't believe it. Like, damn, this passed in Oklahoma.
Oh, and it was a brotherhood,
right? It was a brotherhood, right? It was a community. I mean, that right there, you could feel the community.
It was a family.
Yeah, it was a family. People were like, we have to legalize this, right? We have to legalize it, right? And I told them the same way whenever we went to vote for rec. I was like, it's not gonna pass. They're like, what? I said, talk to the community, dude. Talk to the people. They'll tell you why they don't want it to pass. They're gonna tell you why it's not gonna benefit anybody but the politicians, you know. And it didn't pass, right? Because it's the community. We grew the community, and people are like, yeah, we're gonna vote for this, or no, we're not gonna vote for this, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the biggest thing. It's just trying to help out, have an understanding, and so that's what we try to do. I mean, with our clients that come and ask for help, they say, I want to try CBD. I want to. Well, what do you want it for? What do you want to achieve? Let's talk.
Right.
Let's figure out what is it. What is your end goal? What are you trying to achieve by using it?
Absolutely.
Okay, we know which way to go. We can go with the 420 byway gum. Let's get you started with those, trying those out. Get you on a tincture, you know, get you on a balm or get you on a roller for pain management, right? Doing stuff like that. And that's what's great, and, you know, and educating people, right? That's the biggest thing is educating, because people don't educate no more, right? Those witch doctors, them crazy people, they go to the witch doctor. Why you going to the witch doctor? Because he knows something that I don't.
Well, I mean, you know, traditionally, homeopathic shaman, practitioners, whatever you want to call them, right? Chiropractors, right? Those were your two main forms of medicine for thousands of years.
Right.
Is getting cracked, stretched, and eating some plants.
Right.
Right. Like that's
medicine, right? Getting your medicine.
That's what it was. I mean, it goes back as far as time. You
right.
know, using plants. We didn't have pharmaceuticals.
Right.
You know, before 100 years ago.
Right.
How did we live?
Right.
You know, and it's funny because history wants to tell us, you know, the books want to tell us that people used to not live very long lives, that modern medicine now has extended.
yeah.
And if we really get into history, right, and we look at the Bible and the Quran and all of these other religious books, they were living hundreds of years. And we can go so far
600,
back.
800, 900 years, dude. Like
reigns of kings
right?
for millennia.
Yeah.
Reigning multiple millennia. And a lot of that goes back to, you know, Samaria, ancient Samaria, and for those, a lot of, like I've talked about a few times on my show, the Sumerian path and the tablets of the Anunnaki, and kind of some of the ancient astronaut theorism, right, that comes into play, and I mean those stone tablets, the Pyramid of Kings, right, that has the Column of Kings that's got the scriptures and the dates from the rulings all the way through to Gilgamesh, right? I mean, that's in stone. They carbon dated that. We know that's real, and I mean, why would they say that these kings lived hundreds of years if they did not rule for hundreds of years?
Right.
I mean, the pen's easy to switch, right? Google's easy to update. We saw that with the definition of herd immunity, right?
Right.
However, you know, a tablet, a stone, a piece of granite that, frankly, we would have problems making the precision cuts and engravements today with our technology that they had supposedly back 2,500 years ago.
Right.
Geez, that's a deep rabbit hole.
It is, yeah.
Many have went down already, and if you haven't, you need to. But you know, I think that healthcare and the way that we've approached healthcare for the last 100 years is now right in the middle of that shift. And looking at alternative or traditional is what I like to call
traditional
medicine and healthcare, because it's not just medicine. It's not just treating; it's also preventative,
Right.
right? And if we're taking these products, if we're utilizing things to fulfill our endocannabinoid system, things to supplement our diet and fulfill what we're not getting, like copper.
Right.
You know, most people don't realize that their iron is low or deficient mainly because they're not getting copper in their diet anymore. Up until about 20 years ago, most plumbing in homes were copper
Copper
tubing.
pipe. Yeah.
And even up until about 10 years ago, there was still a lot of copper in your connections, in your
Mhm.
faucets,
Yeah.
and other areas that copper ions,
Yeah. Then you get in
that's
your
what
water.
they do.
Right,
They're
right,
naturally in your water. And we don't need a lot, but we do need some.
right.
And now it's not. It's all plastic. It's all
Right.
PEX,
Yeah.
you know,
Facts. Yeah.
polyethylene tubing and plastic fittings and plastic internal waterways, and frankly, we're not getting the copper that we need. So there's a lot of things out there that can help offset the need for even a prescription supplement like iron.
Right.
So I think we're on the shift of the next 100 years becoming more focused on
Natural healing.
natural,
Right.
homeopathic,
healing. Right.
traditional.
And
I like to call it ancient,
ancient.
right? Because it's literally what we've done for thousands of years until Mr. Rockefeller decided to rewrite the game.
Right.
So kudos.
Right.
Right,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you are the only. I do believe that Mr. Rockefeller is the only one who has mastered medicine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he obviously knew.
Everybody else just practices it.
Yeah.
talk
He's
about
the only.
that
Yeah.
much.
He's the only one that mastered it. Absolutely. By that far, I mean, just be able to the way he's done it, the way he's ran our country. Absolutely.
Well, and now with the laws evolving around even hemp, right?
Right.
Technology's finally caught up to the legislation, and now we can provide products like the 420 My Way gummies
Yeah.
that are as or more effective than any edible inside of any dispensary in the country,
Hands down.
and available to everyone in all 50 states.
Right, in all 50 states, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the best part about it, right? It's having access to medicine. Right? That's the biggest thing, right? It's like I tell my brothers and sisters. I said, we went to war. We're at war for 20 years, dude. Iraq and Afghanistan for 20 years, dude. You fought in that war. Some of y'all went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? Now you're home. You still gotta fight for your medical freedom.
Sure.
To be able to use whatever medicine you want to use that you feel helps you the most.
100%.
You know, and that's the biggest battle that we're having, right? And that's why I tell them, I say, you have got to get, and you got to start working your legislation in your area, whatever state you live in, working it, right? Finding the politicians that are for it and finding out what it is that they need for
Just go to the Capitol, right?
Right.
Go to the Capitol, go around. They work, our legislators, especially at the state level, they work for us,
Yeah.
and they are happy to hear from their constituents. And so start with your legislator. I would say House representative in your district, whatever district you're in. You can go to whatever state you're in.gov
Right.
and look up what district that you're in under your zip code, and go show up at their office. Again, they work for us.
Yeah, they
I
work
wouldn't
for
go
us.
on a Monday or a Friday, and I wouldn't go at lunch.
Right.
Otherwise, they work for us. They're there to answer and so say, hey, look, this is something I'm passionate about,
Right.
and I want to see something done here. And how do we,
What is it that I need to do to get this on a ballot or get this seen?
Well, and first off is make sure that you're on the same page with whatever it is.
That they're doing. Yeah.
Because if they're not, you go to some other doors, because
Right.
someone will be.
Yeah.
And so awareness, education, they need educated.
Yeah.
Our lawmakers need educated on every issue. No different than if it was any other issue.
And that's what I tell people, right? Because a lot of it is a lot of the politicians. They said we know there's a problem, but what's the solution?
Yeah. How do we fix it?
How do we fix it? And that's what they want from you. How do we fix this? Right? How do we fix it? They're like, we know. They know. They're like, we know we got a problem,
Absolutely.
but how are we going to fix it? That's what I need to know. That's the way I can work with you. Give me an answer on how to fix it. And I'll look through it and see it. But yeah, it's on my agenda.
Absolutely.
It's not, and that's the biggest thing. It sucks, but yeah.
I think that's what it's hard to find is someone to help walk them down that pathway, or just even to reach out to through social media.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? Leave a message on YouTube, right?
Right.
Right. Stone Vet USMC on YouTube.
Yep, absolutely.
And there are many out there that are happy to
Oh, yeah.
advise, right? Most are not. Most want to keep that information themselves.
Yeah.
And find some way to gain from it. But I commend you on what you're doing with trying to help people.
Yeah, just trying to help, right?
To that next step.
taking it to the next step, right? Because somebody needs to educate, right? There's nobody out there that's going to help educate us, right? You can get word from random people, right? But like, it's like, how reliable is the source, right? When on my educational episode, I said, look, dude, this is where I'm getting this information from. I don't just know this. I'm Googling it myself, and here's the website. This is where I got all the information from, right? You know, I go and that's what I get. You know, I go DuckDuckGo, and this is where it pulls up. This is where I get the information from. So what I'm telling you, just take it with a grain of rice and go look it up yourself to make sure that I'm telling the truth, right?
100%.
Don't take it though.
Do your own digging. Make your own assumptions.
Make your own assumptions.
Don't believe me.
Yeah, don't believe me. Do it yourself, and then come back and be like, damn, dude, you were right. I was just saying.
Happy to discuss more about this, right? Once you have a better education on, you got to go down those rabbit holes, and I think that we have been purposely kept with blinders on, right, to focus on going to work. Well, it starts out with 13 years of school, right, and then another 4 to 8 years of college, to work 30 to 40 years. Right, to retire and enjoy 5, maybe 10.
Right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just all wrong.
That's wrong.
That's Rockefeller's idea of how he can have a perfect life and do whatever he wants, and his family do what they want,
right,
and not have to actually,
right,
live that. All the while, the rest of us are paying our taxes and going to work and buying their gas, buying their drugs, and we have been complete. So we have to unplug. We have to get out of that
mindset,
that system, the matrix, if you will. All right, Patriots, we're back. Got Sergeant G in today, USMC, retired. Talked about some great things already.
Yeah, it's been a great episode.
You know, we spoke, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago? Started going down some rabbit holes.
Yeah, we've been going down some intriguing.
So what's your most recent one right now?
Right now, I've been going through. So right now, I've been catching these news pop up, dude. They say they found some stuff in the Grand Canyon recently.
Yeah.
I was like, where else is this gonna go?
There's a lot of conspiracies around the Grand Canyon.
There's a lot, right?
A lot of areas we can't go.
A lot of areas we
can't
can't go. Right? And that intrigued me because of what you had told me about what was going on with Admiral Byrd down in Antarctica. I was like, why is this starting to add up now? They're like, why is it 1 + 1 is starting to say 2 now? You know, versus that common format that tells you it's 47 or whatever. But whatever the
military said it is,
right? But to start seeing things unfold now with everything that's going on in our country right now, there's a lot of chaos, right? There's a lot of
disclosure.
There's a lot of stuff that's come out, right? A lot of files have been released, right? So I work for the federal government, and I deal with a lot of secret documents, right? I don't touch the top secret. I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't need it, right? I don't need to see that stuff, right? But like how Trump had released a lot of the stuff, right? And I said, what makes me mad though is all the evidence is here, but nothing happened. Nothing happened, right? All the evidence is right here. You see it plain as day. The evidence is solid. It's right here in black and white. But nothing happened.
We talked about it, all 168 nations met in 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
Right before Obama left office.
Right.
And, first off, that's when do 164 plus nations do anything? Right.
When do they ever come together?
Let alone fly to 700 miles inland in Antarctica, right, for a conference.
Antarctica. Who's going to Antarctica, dude?
It's pretty odd.
Right? Yeah, like who goes there?
But so coming out of that conference, apparently that they were given an ultimatum, and that the officials of every government in every country by 2018 had to release all of the information they had been holding from us about the existence of other beings on this planet, about everything.
Right.
At Antarctica,
Right.
and so it's all out there. That's when Admiral Byrd's, logs and notes and radio and debriefing was released, and so it's out there. So
Right.
anybody can go search that, right? Admiral Byrd, Admiral Byrd, BYRD. Just
Yeah.
Google that.
Yeah, and it's
Robert
like,
Byrd
he's like, why was all those documents closed? They had a key, like,
for 60 years.
for 60 years.
But
Like,
yet
why
this
did it-
man is still today the most recognized expert on
Antarctica.
Antarctic exploration in general,
Right.
right? 60 years later, 80 years later, after he was silenced, 1947. So it's pretty crazy. Of course, 1957, 58, is when the Antarctic Treaty was signed, that no country would further explore into Antarctica, et cetera,
Why?
et cetera.
Why?
And then a year later, NASA was formed, 1959.
Huh.
And
Why?
so,
Why?
a lot of your again, ancient astronaut theorists, all the pyramids that are now being, disclosed. And I mean, this information is disclosed. You can go look them up.
right.
Right, but these pyramids that they have found down there that predate anything in Egypt or even
That's crazy.
South America by tens of thousands of years, they're saying.
Really?
That some of these structures could be up to 400,000 years old. But yet, today, science tells us that we've only really been civilized for about 5,500 years.
Yeah.
The Sphinx has already been disproven on that one, right? Like the Great Floods and
Yeah.
and other things. It hasn't rained in that part of Egypt, and I think it was 8,500 years or something, 8,600 years, right? But yet the Sphinx has water damage, eroded from water. So if it
Right.
hasn't rained in that
Right.
area in that long, then how
Did you get
right,
water?
Did you get water? The Great Floods, right?
Right.
And all that falls back to the Book of Enoch,
Right.
right? Like as a growing up Baptist, still, Jesus is my savior. But I was taught to question
Yeah,
everything.
right. Question it, right? You gotta question.
Everything, because if you can't physically experience it, then you have to get as good of data and as good of information as you can get. And I feel like there's so much was removed from the King James Bible, right?
Right.
And all books are translated.
Yeah.
All books are
They use
translations.
translations within as many different books that are.
And they can be translated differently. However,
Right.
I found it fascinating that Ethiopia still recognizes the Book of Enoch and other books in its Bible. And so that led me down to read those books: the Book of Maccabees 1 and 2, the Book of Giants, the Book of Enoch, and several others. And I think if we had that information, if we had been taught this information growing up, right, that we would have a completely different perspective on life,
Mm-hmm.
on afterlife, on
Right.
purpose of life,
Right.
on the creation of life,
Right.
and where we really come from. So, for anyone that hasn't, look into the Book of Enoch. It may answer some things, and it may cause some more questions. But
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, is just getting out there and educating yourself. Right.
King James removed all that in the late 1500s.
Right,
He
right.
wrote his version of the Bible, and well, it's held that way ever since.
Ever since, right? But that's the biggest thing, is just getting out there and educating yourself. What do you want? What do you want to learn? What do you want to see? Kind of things, like you said. I mean, go look up Admiral Byrd. I mean, there's stuff here.
And you can spend a lot of time doing it.
It was all kept under lock and key. The government closed it up and said, "Don't talk about this." Right?
And now, seems like today's generation doesn't. Have we had UFOs flying over Canada and over American soil that we're shooting down? And where is that?
Where's that information at now?
Yeah, can we see what that was?
Can we see what it was that we shot down?
We shot something.
Yeah, we shot something down. What was it?
Fired a multi-million-dollar missile to take something out. What was it?
What was
So-
it? How did we catch it this time? And we haven't caught them before. Like, why are we catching them now?
Like I said, new adjustments on the radar. The cell phones don't need adjustment, right? They've been catching this shit for years and years and years. Right?
Come on now, you can't tell me now. Now we can hit them with the rockets. What happened?
Are we ready on the east?
Ready on the east.
Ready on the west?
Ready on the west.
Get going in 3, 2, 1.